Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Sir Spam 28 here bringing you some more World of Warships action. This is an after-action report. I am in the USS Cleveland, Tier 6 cruiser for the United States. Cleveland is a light cruiser armed with lots of beautiful 6-inch guns and lots of beautiful dual-purposed 5-inch guns. Now, the dual-purpose guns indicate that they fire at both air and surface targets once you get in close enough to activate your secondary batteries. Now, basically, I wanted to show off this game not so much because of the massive amount of damage done, and not because my performance was particularly carrying. I didn't carry the team by any means. But what I was able to do is use the strengths of this machine, this ship, this United States carrier, which is its rapid-fire 6-inch guns, which makes it very good at targeting and destroying enemy destroyers and enemy cruisers, and just its AA cover. Those dual-purpose 5-inch guns, along with the other secondary AA armament that it has, means that it can knock planes out of the sky like you wouldn't believe. It's also the first U.S. cruiser to get the increased anti-aircraft ability on Y by default, and what that does is it ramps up your AA damage for a short period of time. And another feature that has is that if you activate that, any planes that are trying to do torpedo or bomb runs that are in your AA envelopment area, when that ability is active, their approach patterns and their attack patterns will be messed up. So basically, you decrease the accuracy of both enemy dive bombers and torpedo bombers if you're shooting at them with that ability activated. So what this allows the Cleveland to do is really act as a cruiser should be acting, as a destroyer and an aircraft screen for the battleships. So at the beginning of the game, I spawned kind of away from the battleships, so my priority right now is to join up with the battleship squadron. This team that I was playing on was very good. They knew what they were doing. The battleships all formed up as a task group, and they stuck together so that their AA envelopments overlapped with one another to further protect themselves from aircraft. And the enemy team, I believe, had 2 aircraft carriers on it. So there's going to be quite a few enemy air squadrons in the sky looking to sink us, and looking specifically to sink those battleships. So as I'm steaming over to the battleship area to get information with them, I'm just taking shots at priority targets. There's an enemy destroyer and an enemy cruiser in range. When the destroyer is able to be shot at, I focus on shooting the destroyer, and when he disappears, I focus on putting shots into the cruisers. Now, unfortunately, I do have the hull upgraded on the Cleveland, but I don't have either of the gun upgrades. I don't have the new guns themselves, which give you an increased rate of fire, nor do I have the new gun control system, which gives you that extra range on the guns. So, as I'm steaming over, that cruiser and the destroyer were kind of just in and out of my range. But now this destroyer is steaming straight towards us, so I'm gonna pick him back up and start shooting at him. I'm gonna switch over to HE, just because HE messes up destroyers. Their modules are so easy to knock out, specifically their torpedo tubes and their engines are really easy to knock out with HE. And if you knock out either the torpedo tubes or the engines on a destroyer, it's basically done. And as you can see there, with that HE volley, knocked out its engine, and now that destroyer is pretty much dead in the water, and it's got me and this other cruiser shooting at it, so it is not long for this world. Unfortunately, my gunnery is not the best this game. Like I said, I'm not really showing off the damage I'm able to do, and before my volley can land on that destroyer, which I think would have been on target and take it out, the other cruiser is able to put shots into it. So now we're just continuing to steam along towards the battleship formation, which you can kind of see off of our starboard bow there. And the next thing that comes into my gunnery range is this enemy battleship. When I mess up here and I don't fire a tracking shot, to see where the salvo is going to land, I just kind of get excited and fire all my guns, and unfortunately they're a little bit ahead of the enemy battleship. And that's kind of really the priority that you want to be shooting at in a destroyer is you want to, or in a cruiser rather, especially the United States Navy cruisers. You want to set yourself up to be able to intercept planes first and foremost. Secondly, you want to be shooting at destroyers when you're able. If there's no destroyers to shoot at, you want to be shooting at enemy cruisers, and if there's no cruisers to shoot at, then you just add your fire onto the enemy battleships. When you're shooting at cruisers and shooting at battleships, no matter the range, shoot armor piercing. If it's long range, you can maybe get some plunging fire with the armor piercing rounds through the enemy's decks. If it's short range, you want to be aiming for those critical weak spots, mainly the magazines under the turrets and the boilers under the smokestacks at the enemy. So I go ahead and pick up this cruiser. He's steaming towards me. Should be some plunging fire. He didn't have much health anyway, and I'm able to take him out before he's, you know, able to mess up the battleships any. And then also freeze those battleships up to just continue to fire at the enemy battleships. They don't have to swing their turrets. They don't have to waste their long reloads on taking out a lower priority target for them, which is the enemy cruiser. They're free just to shoot at the battleship. I go ahead and launch a scout plane here, just to give us some more vision. We're kind of passing some islands off of my port. I want to make sure that nothing can really sneak up on us. So I go ahead and launch the scout plane and just continue taking shots at the enemy battleship. And my fire, but primarily the battleship squadron fire, is able to take him out. Go ahead and turn to port a little bit here to avoid a collision with the Congo. And now, as you can finally see, it's taken all this amount of time to actually catch up with the battleship group. I'm pretty much steaming full speed ahead since I spawned, and I'm just now getting parallel with them. So I'm going to go ahead and create a little bit of distance in front of them and kind of position myself so that if any aircraft coming from where the enemy aircraft carriers are wants to get to the battleships, they're going to have to fly over me. And that allows my anti-aircraft guns, of which I have many, to really go to work. So as you'll see, as enemy aircraft come in, I go ahead and control-click on them, and that's that little target above the enemy aircraft squadrons, which is telling my AA guns that are AI-controlled to focus on that air group. And what that does is focuses your fire specifically on that air squadron. Normally, if you're not focusing fire on enemy aircraft, all enemy aircraft that are in your AA range take damage equally. So your AA damage is spread out or divided equally amongst the amount of planes that are in your AA range. By focusing fire, you can specifically focus all of your AA damage on a specific enemy air squadron. And as you can see, that dive bomber squadron got squatted out of the sky by my AA fire and the battleship AA fire before it even got close. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is activate my anti-aircraft ability on these torpedo bombers as they're coming in. And as I see they're about to launch their torpedoes, so hopefully that disrupts their attack pattern, makes it a little bit wider, and that battleship is actually able to churn and slip through the gap and only get hit by one torpedo out of the 12. So that really helps out. And that's your job as a U.S. cruiser, especially, is to provide that AA cover. And now we're just tearing this dive bomber squadron apart. Again, my combined AA fire with the battleship's combined AA fire, they just don't have a chance to really get in and do that damage. I take the opportunity to kind of make a joke to my team in chat. We've all been there. We've been on the frustrating end of a perfect carrier torpedo bomber run and just get one-shotted by two squadrons of torpedoes, you know, eat a full spread, eat 8, 9, 10 torpedoes, and just die instantly. And a lot of people say that, oh, CVs are overpowered, torpedoes in general are overpowered, and they're really not. I mean, in real life, they were very powerful weapons. I mean, they sunk far more ships than surface guns did. If you count torpedoes from submarines, torpedoes from torpedo planes, and torpedoes from destroyers and PT boats, that's where a lot of the enemy damage, or a lot of the damage to shipping came from. That's the majority, torpedoes and bombs. Surface guns, you know, they did work, they did their job, but not nearly as much as torpedoes did. And so they should be powerful, but they can be counteracted if you have the proper playstyle, if you have the proper positioning. Now, like I said, I didn't get a lot of damage done this game. So I didn't get, you know, the most experience, the most credits, but I firmly believe that my positioning and my tactics in this match really helped my team come out on top and win. Now, as you can see, you've kind of decimated the enemy battleship force and the force that was over here towards the A point. Unfortunately, the enemy team has a destroyer and a battleship in the B point, so they have gone ahead. Now we're 2 capped. They've got B and C. So what we're doing is steaming back to the B point to hopefully take out those 2 targets and recapture it and win the game. It's not too bad. We've destroyed a lot more ships of theirs, so we have a little bit of a points buffer. So now, once again, you can see, even as in this turn and in this formation, I've positioned myself towards the enemy carriers, so the planes have to fly over me to get to the battleships. So I was able to shoot a couple of those bombers down and turn them around, and now we've got a torpedo squadron coming in. He's down to 1 plane, and he's gone. And I'm able to easily dodge that torpedo. So you can see the effect. If you position yourself early and are able to shoot down planes early in the game, the subsequent actions, the subsequent torpedo runs and bomb runs from the carriers just aren't effective anymore. That was 1 plane. What's he gonna do? You know, even if it gets a perfect run, it's 1 torpedo. I'm able to dodge that easily. So now we've got 2 more torpedo squadrons coming in. So I go ahead and I can see that they're kind of setting up a run on me. So I start to churn into them, and I activate my AA ability, you know, to kind of increase their spread a little bit. And that means that, again, out of 6 torpedoes, I only take 2 of them. And as a further bonus, they wasted their torpedo drops on me and not on the battleships. That enemy battleship in that cap circle is gonna need to be taken out by our battleships. So I want to keep them alive as long as possible. So double whammy. I'm able to shoot down a couple more torpedo planes, and I'm able to draw the actual torpedo drops of those torpedo planes towards me and away from the battleships. And yeah, I took a couple, but you could see with my combined ability for AA, the AA increased ability, and my increase in maneuverability as relative to our battleships, I'm able to avoid most of that drop. So that's a pretty wasted drop by that carrier. Now I go ahead and I've been pretty much taking pot shots at the destroyer the entire time, because I know that I'm not going to be able to do that much damage to the battleship at this range. So I've been basically shooting HE at that destroyer, and he was doing a good job of ducking and weaving. But I finally get a good salvo and drop some HE shells right on top of him, and he wasn't at very much health, and he went down. And basically, during that whole time that I was focused on the destroyer and focused on the AA, one of our destroyers was able to slip in and recap B, and that gave us, you know, the points ticker advantage, and with the excess of points we had from killing them, we capped out and won the game. So as you can see, not the greatest game for me. Finished in the top in experience, you know, top half of the team, but not on top, not in the top 3. Damage done, not the greatest, but I did shoot down 11 planes, including, and they were all bombers and torpedo bombers. So I just really want to highlight the cruiser tactics, and that's what you should be doing, and that's how to properly play an American cruiser. Provide that screen for your battleships and let them win you the game. So thank you, and I'll talk to you later.